And well, I'm an artist, and by way of my art, I have always had an interest in religions, because through my art, I have been on this search for ultimate truths. So I figured, well, let's see, perhaps science might have something to say about that, but that only goes so far. Perhaps philosophy has something to say about that, but that only goes so far. And then I have begun to look deeply at religions. So particularly the mystical strands of religions. Religions in general, because I'm just curious.
Came to the right place. At any rate, the community you're visiting is a Hasidic community. Some would call it Orthodox, but that would not be a good description. And it originates in Russia, Lubavitch, which means village of love or city of love. And it's about 250 years old, this approach to Judaism. And the main focus is ultimate truth. Because everything in Judaism is true, but it only goes so far. So we want to take it to the ultimate truth. So I'll give you the punchline, and then we'll back up a little bit. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. In the beginning means before there was us. He created the world before there was us, which basically tells you that he is after something. So the ultimate truth is that the Creator needs his creation. The creation does not need him. Because if we weren't created, we'd all be fine. So the trick of getting to the ultimate truth is to get past the apparent truth. The apparent truth is, I exist, I have needs, who's going to help me? So we turn to God. Give me, help me, save me, protect me. And that distorts the whole picture. So of course it's true we depend on him once we're created. But we didn't even need to be created. He needs to create us. So the ultimate truth in one simple sentence is, he needs us more than we need him. And the problem with religion is that it has devolved into self-serving spiritual quest. We're looking for some spiritual benefit, for some spiritual gain, whether it's in heaven or here, and that distorts the whole picture. So what does it feel like if we're aware that he needs us more than we need him? Firstly, psychologically, it is so liberating. I'm not the needy one, because I didn't ask to be created. Of course, now that I'm here, I'm dependent on food and sleep, but I don't need any of that. It's not about me. So when I say my need, it's not exactly my need, because if it was up to me, I wouldn't eat and I wouldn't sleep. I wouldn't be handicapped by these things if it was up to me. Obviously, it's not up to me. So God designed us with a need to eat and with a need to sleep. It's not my idea. So even saying, I need to eat, is not exactly true. Actually, I need to stop eating. But the liberating effect is that you're a much happier person. So Chassidim have a reputation of being happy, always singing, dancing. It's a bit of an exaggeration with the singing and the dancing, but there is some truth to that. And the joy comes from, firstly, from this feeling that I'm not so burdened. It's not all about me. And this is where philosophy falls short, I think, because it's all about me. This is where science falls short. It starts after the fact of creation. Here's a world, let's study it. But why is there a world? Why was anything created? Out of our need? No, we're the creation. So who needed the world into creation? So on the surface we say God spoke the world into creation. God said, let there be. Yeah, but why did he say it? So he willed it into existence. So the next logical question is, what does he need? That's it. That's Judaism. So what is the Torah? God telling us what he needs. He's got to tell us sometime. So when we're told that God came down to Mount Sinai 3,000 years ago, okay, fine. I don't care where it was. So it was Mount Sinai, but it had to happen. Because if he needs, well, then he's got to tell us what he needs. The second thing is, he needs me? Is that not a reason to be happy? Because it turns out that human beings would much rather be needed than loved. We would much rather be needed than have our needs met. Or in different words, I'd much rather be needed than be needy. And that really is the choice in life. The choice is not between good and bad. Since when is bad one of the choices? Right? The choice is, do you want to focus on your needs, or do you want to focus on what you're needed for? And I think this is the future of psychology. We've got to stop focusing on, I need, I'm so desperate, that's not helping. It only makes us more miserable. Psychology says if you could find the deep repressed need you have, you'll be healthy. Well, we haven't found it yet. Because whatever we find, there's something more. Now there's something else. Now something else is bothering you. It's an endless. If we could know what we are needed for, we have a clear and doable picture of life. We know what we're here for. That's an amazing blessing. In the reverse, I had this really interesting experience. A father in Israel calls me. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. He's got a problem. His 12-year-old daughter got it into her head that God was angry at her. And she's all depressed. And he puts her on the phone. He says, talk to her. So I said, God is angry at you? She says, yeah. I said, I'm so jealous. You could do something to get God angry? When did you become so important? 12 years old, and you can anger the creator of the world? What did you do? Problem was over. We got it backwards. We think, look, I'm here, I'm alive, I need to live, I need food, I need money, I need this, I need that. And then if God is angry at me, it's bad. Because it's all about me. by saying to her, don't you get the compliment? God could be angry at you? Like, how did you become so significant? So whether he loves you or hates you, either way, what a compliment. But the main thing is not the love and not the hate. The main thing is he needs you.
But why?
Ah.
That was a good question.
Well, first of all, do we really need to know why, or is the question itself delicious? It's like a woman who says, my husband loves me. I don't know why. Which is beautiful. But the real answer to that question is, for no reason. He just needs us. In other words, we're not a means to an end. He's not using us to gain something because he can't gain anything. He's God. God created the world so that we would exist with him. Why? So that we would exist with him. Yeah, but why? I just told you. He's not using us as a means to an end, which is really what a marriage should be. You don't marry somebody for something. You marry someone for them. So, for example, you get married, I just need you. I don't need your money. I don't need your services. I just need you to be in my life. Right? If I just need you and you're not there, do I need you any less? No, maybe more. Because I miss you. If all I need is to have you, and I don't need you to do anything for me, and you're not there, does that make me imperfect? Or needy? No, because what am I missing? This is really important. What am I missing? You're missing. So it's not what, it's who. So you say God is perfect, why would he need us? He's perfect means he needs no thing, but he needs someone. Why? You're going back to something. He doesn't need you for something. He needs you for you. But of course, he doesn't want you fighting him. So he gives us all these insights into who he is. Like 613 things that he embodies. So for example, a family is observing their Shabbos. And they're sitting at the Shabbos table, and one of the kids refuses to come to the table. The parents, the family, needs that child. But he's not available to them because he won't join. So if we don't do the mitzvah, God needs us, but he doesn't have us because we're not on the same page with him. So when God asks us to observe the Sabbath, it's because he does. Right? He rests on the seventh day. If we don't, then he doesn't have us. Does he still want us? Maybe even more. And that's why, according to Judaism, if you sin, you are not doomed. You're just annoying. Because he still needs you. So if you're not doing it, so do it. Next week, 2 weeks, get around to it. because he needs you, right? So it's a much more elegant picture of the human condition. It's a much better picture than a human condition is always on the threshold between right and wrong, between good and bad, between moral and immoral, and he has to keep making those choices. That's a pretty depressing picture. Our choices are not right and wrong. Our choices are with him or not with him. And if you're not with him, so get with him. You didn't do it yesterday, do it today.
Is the only way of being with him, as you put it, him, by way of the Torah, by way of your book, his book?
His right.
This particular revelation?
Yes.
Is that the only way? How do you know that?
Everybody agrees.
And who is everybody?
Christians, Muslims,
Who is everybody?
Buddhists, Hindus. In other words, there's no argument. There's no other claim to God's will. Is there? No religion claims to know what God wants, other than the Bible. Christianity says we already fulfilled it.
So is God then the ultimate truth?
His need. The fact that there's a creator who created the world, that's not going far enough. The real secret is his motivation. You're wondering why we call God a him?
Yeah.
In English, anyway.
In Hebrew too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very simple thing. Now, some people say, see, men wrote the Bible, and that's why God is a he. Actually, if men wrote the Bible, God would be a she. Men don't worship men. But besides that, it's a relationship. In every relationship, there's a male and a female. There were some movements, religions, that worshipped a female god. They were so violent that they destroyed themselves. So in the relationship, the choice is, do we want to be the he and God is the she, or do we want God to be the he and will be the she? It's much better that we be the female.
So when you say a relationship between male and female, I assume you're meaning principles, male principle and female principle, in whatever vessels those principles might fall.
Certainly God doesn't have a body,
Yeah.
and yet we're attributing masculine characteristics. But that's only in the context of the relationship. Objectively, he's neither male nor female. Or he's both male and female.
Or neither.
Or neither. X. Non-binary. But if we're going to have a relationship, we have to take on a persona. You have to be a somebody. So there's the option. Either he'll be the she and we'll be the he, which is not a good idea. What are we here to protect him? See, you can imagine what what that does to people who think that way. And you got to kill all God's enemies. It becomes very violent. Instead, we let God be the he. There was actually a debate, forced debate in the Middle Ages between a famous rabbi and the Catholic Church. And it was during the times of the Inquisition. And the priest asked, why is it that your God is so violent, always punishing? And the rabbi said, because we'd rather leave it to him. Your God doesn't do the punishing, so you do it. You become the violent one. Better to leave it to God. So that's the male-female. There are occasions in the Bible where God is referred to as she. Or as the mother Shechina and so on. So there is a feminine, just like there's a masculine side to us. But in our relationship with God, we want to take the feminine role. So it's not that we want him to be a he. It's more that we want to be the she.
And by that you mean passive and peace, in other words, this kind of stereotypical feminine characteristics?
Well, there's one essential feminine characteristic, and that is nurturing.
Okay.
Instead of aggressive, trying to get something that isn't there, to nurture what is there. And that's the whole idea. Whatever God gives you, use it productively. Right? So that's a nurturing quality. Instead of trying to grab some piece of heaven by force.
I have one other question, which is that in my reading of Abraham Joshua Heschel, he talked about us being partners in the act of creation. Is that off base in your view?
No, but a partner means either the male or the female. Not the same thing, not two males or two females. So if we are partners with God in creation, it's because we're playing the other role. Otherwise, we're not partners, we're competing. Or could be competing.
But that gives a reason for the why of why God needs us.
It's not really the why, it's more the what. What does God want from us? Yeah, he wants us to be his partner. But why? Why makes it sound like we're a means to an end,
Yeah.
and we're not.
Okay, I get it.
You have discussed, the the principles. I guess my question is, do the same principles apply to the Orthodox Jews, conservatives, other forms of Judaism, or does this apply specifically to the Lubavitch?
Well, we think it applies to everybody. They just don't know it yet. You see, this explains the community. I'm not giving you just philosophy. The community, the whole thing, everyone here, is raised with the idea that we are here to serve. We are needed, not needy. And that's why we have a very open community. We welcome people, we welcome guests, come and listen, come and look, check it out. Because if you really exist to serve, to be needed, then you serve God, you serve your community, you serve your family, you're in that serving mode. Because it's not about me, it's about being needed. So if you need something, that makes our day. So there are other Hasidic communities, more from Poland and Hungary and Romania. They're not so open. They're not so welcoming. They're a little more insular. They're trying to protect what they have. And only recently have they started to open up. But that's the key. The key is we are here to serve full time. So I'm unburdened by the fact that I'm not here for myself. This is not about me. What can I do for you? It's a completely different mindset. So that's why wherever you're going to go, you can actually walk in to any shul, any synagogue, about 50 of them here. You can walk into any one of them. You can walk into the matzah bakery, into the into the scribe, and everything's open, which is not usual. Usually you just walk down the street and they say this building and that building. You know. But here you go in. You're welcome. It's all open.
Do you have synagogues throughout the United States in every state? I mean, if I were to look at just basically, obviously there's a lot here in New York, but if you looked at the rest of the United States, how would you?
That's a very good point. Part of the thinking and part of the activism is that the Rebbe, who taught us and trained us in this thinking, encouraged people to leave Crown Heights. Don't stay here. Go where you're needed. And so there is a Chabad house or Chabad center in every state of the Union, and in most places more than one.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the Chabad of Denver.
Okay.
There's how many Chabad houses on the island?
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be at least 6 or 7, maybe?
Oh,
More than that? Yeah.
are we 30?
Really?
But that's cheating. It's right next door.
Oh.
They're the young couples who go off to Siberia.
I know.
Now that's
Nepal or, yeah.
yeah, or the Congo.
Right.
So, a Chabad is not a synagogue then? It's more like a family that that has a flag in front of the house and welcomes people, or?
That's how it starts.
Okay.
And then it develops, and if they need a preschool, they make the preschool. A kindergarten, they make a kindergarten. If they need a shul, they'll make a shul. Whatever the community needs, they're there to serve. And God forbid, if a disaster happens, they're the first responders. Because if there's a need, love to be needed.
Are there, are there any distinctions you can speak on between the Hasidic community in Crown Heights versus the Hasidic community in Williamsburg?
Your friend from Williamsburg is not here today for some reason. They're actually opening up in Williamsburg.
Really?
They've
That's
been-
shocking.
Yeah. They've been very insular for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy. So they realize it, and they're opening up a little. But again, the difference is whether you're trying to be religious, which means it's about me, how religious can I be, how perfectly religious am I, and so on, versus what can I do for others, beginning with God. So Judaism is not about me. Judaism is God's need, not my need. So when somebody says, I discovered a form of Judaism that works for me, that's not good news. Judaism doesn't work for you. You work for it. You're the one who does the serving, not the other way around. And that's why going to heaven is really not interesting. Heaven is not a better place. That's a very Christian idea. You don't want to go to heaven. You don't belong in heaven. Of course, if you can't be here, you go there. Okay, but nobody wants to go there. It's not a goal. It's not an objective. Because there, God takes care of you. Here, you can do something for Him. So here is better. And there's no better place.
So you mentioned that the communities have been opening up. Some of them a little slower to do this, and some of them, like yours, better at it. Is there any reason for that?
Why they were slow?
No. Why they are opening up?
I think 2 reasons. One is practical, pragmatic. It doesn't work to be insular. It doesn't work. In today's world, you cannot be insulated. You can't. So they were hoping their children will never hear about drugs and they'll never hear about... no. They hear about it. So you can't do that. It's not a good method. It doesn't work. And secondly, seeing the success of the Chabad houses all over the world, because they travel, they see, and when they come to Denver, where are they going to go for a kosher meal? Right. So they say, wait a minute, this looks appealing. Why don't we do that? So they're opening up a little bit.
And what exactly does opening up mean? I mean, does it mean like we're doing here in a way, us from outside learning about your perspective and possibly being moved to the point of either conversion on the one hand if you don't happen to be Jewish, or coming into the fold if you happen to be Jewish and from another branch of Judaism? Is that what opening up is? Is that part of the practicality of opening up? And is that part of the movement of opening up? In other words, let them come in and see us, or is opening up also an allowance for acceptance of some other perspective into our own world, into our own perspective?
A little bit of that too, because it's inevitable.
Yeah.
You gain something by...
Yeah.
But I think, the expression, this is my God, the my in that sentence is not possessive. My God. Not my God. Like, my children doesn't mean you own them. It's the God I'm relating with. So the essence of opening up means, this is not mine. The opportunity to serve God is not just mine.
So the opening is guided, you're saying, if I understand you, is guided not by you, but by something else.
Exactly.
And therefore, wherever that opening leads you, whatever that might be, you will
Well,
accept
the
it
opening means share what you have,
for the moment.
not go looking.
I understand. For the moment, this is what it means to you.
Yeah.
Let's say tomorrow it means something else. Let's say you somehow understand it, have been guided for it to mean something else. Is that a possibility?
Of course. In fact, when Chabad opened up, the rest of the Orthodox community said, this is ridiculous. You're going to lose all your students and all your... because they're gonna find other ideas and they're going to drop out. And has hardly happened. Because the world really needs this message. Not what's good for me. Oh, for that, there are all sorts of ideas. Every salesman knows what's good for me and will sell me his product and his ideas. But we're not looking for what's good for me. We're looking for how we can serve God's purpose, because He needs the world, I don't need it. So the more we get into that, the deeper we appreciate that, which is what happens when you open up. It becomes so much more real, so much deeper, when you see people reacting and responding. You say, wow, this is really...
Can you tell us some specific ways in which it has worked the other way around? In other words, you have taken on something from outside and somehow or other been able to give it grounding within the context of your own perspective.
The most significant thing is the ability to think global. We're coming out of a shtetl. It wasn't that long ago. We're coming out of ghettos. How did we learn to think global so quickly? 1 or 2 generations and that's it. That's what we gained, first of all, by coming to America, because Americans are global, and it took us out of the ghetto. And that's a big gain.
So speaking about that, it just seems, I may be wrong, but it seems because the members of the community have very large families, and most of them don't appear to work outside the community. My question is, how does the community support itself? Financially, how does that work?
I'm not sure what the situation is in other communities,
Mm-hmm.
but my guess is that everybody works outside the community.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Including the women?
Yeah. Because, I mean, there are only so many jobs. You can't. I mean, how many teachers do you need?
So what kind of jobs do the women have?
Whatever talents, whatever interests. There's no restrictions. Try to stay out of politics.
Beg your pardon?
You try to stay out of politics.
Do you have, aren't most kids homeschooled or go to special schools?
Special schools sounds a
Oh, what
little.
No, I don't mean, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, I'm sorry. Go to religious schools?
Everybody goes to religious schools.
So if I were to graduate from your high school, where would I go to university if I wanted to be a doctor?
Wherever you want.
Okay, so they're equally accredited by the state.
Sure, they have to be.
So you have to have does Colorado have a school like that?
No.
Okay, so if I lived in Colorado,
You would send
and
your.
I had children,
Right.
and I wanted them to go to college, what would I do?
Well, first you would send them to yeshiva,
Yes.
wherever the yeshivas are,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there they would go to whatever profession they're. We encourage, by the way, and I think this is a good idea for everybody, don't go for liberal arts. Decide what you want to be and specialize, or. But just to get an education, it can be very meaningless.
So as a yeshiva is a high school?
Yeah.
So is there one in Denver?
No.
Oh, so I would have to move to another state where there was.
We send our kids.
Pardon me?
We send our kids.
Oh, to boarding school.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I live in Minnesota. All my
Oh.
kids grew up in Minnesota. And when they came of age, we sent them to California, to New York, to Israel.
Oh, okay. So you send them to a boarding school so they can graduate from a school from where they can go on. Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
And that's good when you have a big family. You want to send them out.
So, Rabbi, I have I'm stuck in the mud on something, okay? You might say it that way. I get stuck with the language of he and she. So I prefer to think of forces and things like that. It just clears my mind of any kind of anthropomorphic being. So when I hear the he's and the she's, I find it very disquieting. I find when I pray with, we call it degenderized, as they say, prayer books, I feel really good. When I pray with genderized prayer books, it just distracts me.
I can understand that. The opposite extreme is also disturbing. When men don't know what it means to be a man and a woman doesn't know what it means to be a woman and we're all confused about our gender, that's pretty painful. So obviously we shouldn't take it to an extreme either way.
Okay.
So thinking of it in terms of forces, well, that's what male and female is.
Sure.
Male force, female, yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zoroastrianism, all that good stuff.
So sometimes when you're praying, I know that's been my experience, sometimes when you're praying, you automatically find yourself thinking of God as the male. Not physically, but you want to receive him, you want to nurture the godliness within you, and sometimes you're a little demanding and complaining about what he does or doesn't do. So sometimes you take on the different powers. So sometimes you come to him as a female, sometimes you come to him as a male. And then you're addressing his female part. So it's fluid.
Okay.
But fluid doesn't mean nothingness. You can be fluid between male and female, but there's got to be male and female. X doesn't mean anything. So better to have a definition than to not have one. So the more definite things are, the better. And look what's happening to our society. We're not becoming united. We're becoming nothing.
Well, isn't that really because there obviously has been a breakdown of the forms within which we used to live, and as it happens in nature, we are in transit to the next form, and therefore the in-between time is chaotic.
Yes.
Does it mean that the form that has broken down was bad? Or does it mean that it just worked its natural sort of
evolution
life cycle, and then we move to something else? The problem is that we don't know what the something else is.
Right.
We're not there yet. So, everybody's throwing on the table possibilities. Could be this way, could be that way, could be my religion, could be yours, could be his, hers, or it could be this, that, or the other political system, or this, that, or the other, economic, band-aid. It's just that we are in some manner of transition. Question is, transition to what? In the course of and within the context of a presumed purpose for our being here. What is it that we're moving, that we want to move to?
That's very good.
What is it that we want to actually be?
Let's go back to what you started with.
Yeah.
The pursuit of ultimate truth. If you're going to find ultimate truth, you can't go hopping around. If you think you have a truth, dig as deep as you can until you know that it is or it isn't.
You mean if you have a real true question, dig into it?
Yes.
Because
So,
you don't really have the truth. You have questions.
but
right?
but the pursuit is to get to the truth. We're not giving up on that.
Right.
It's not like, okay, there's no truth, we don't know, we'll never get there. So what I think is going to happen is, in terms of male and female, our definition of what male and female was is no longer valid. Men are not hunters and women are not gatherers. So if that was your definition, it's gone.
Correct.
So now you have to figure out, so what really is male and what really is female? Dig a little deeper.
Well, so far, it seems that we have gotten to a point, and again, in a natural sort of way, where we have understood that at least from a social perspective, right, men are not the ones to have the power of the social context over women. So we've,
So that's not the definition.
So that's not either.
Right.
they're a little bit more, from a social point of view, more equal in terms of opportunities, in terms of, whatever gifts they were given to develop and the freedom to do so.
So you see, what that proves is that career-wise, talent-wise, the ability to make money, to run a company, to be a politician, it turns out that those things are neither male nor female. So they don't serve as a definition for anything. So you're not more female if you make money. You're not more male if you make money.
Let's go a little bit more abstract than that.
Oh, really?
Let's go a little bit more subtle than that. Forget the jobs, forget the practical stuff. Let's look at the idea, which is actually a democratic idea, and I'm coming from a communist country. I kind of appreciate this as a human being, the pursuit of happiness and what that means, and that's a very individual thing, and that's not really, I think, if you really look at it deeply, that should not be marked by, the social constrictions.
Absolutely.
That's something that comes from within. That's more of a natural condition of the person, and the capacity to unfold that into existence, right, as an individual, forget man, forget woman, as an individual. So, I actually think that this is, if we were, as a mass of humanity, if we were to move into some other next stage of our evolution, I think that would be an interesting direction to go into. And I think that would have the capacity to accommodate an extraordinary amount of perspectives, paths, worldviews, revelations, and so on into this world.
This may be a little shocking, but the pursuit of happiness is ungodly.
Okay?
It's too subjective. It's too much me. We have to have something more noble than happiness.
How about forget the word happiness, the pursuit of truth?
Right. So the question...
This truth that
yes.
came to this world in this particular form, with this particular voice,
Exactly.
for this particular whatever.
Okay. So here's the third gender, right? If we want to find a third gender, the third gender is non-gender. It's neither male nor female, which is fantastic. But if you are male, is that not significant? Is there no truth to that? And if you are female, is there no truth to that? So we pursue the non-gender as far as it can go. All possibilities, right? But not at the expense of the truth of the gender that we are.
The gender or the person, the human being, the soul that we are.
The soul is either male or female. No? That's why if you have a male soul and a female body, there's a serious disturbance. There's a terrible friction there. So when we say male-female, we don't mean just the body. A male soul gets a male body. A female soul gets a female body. So the body is the byproduct. So in the pursuit of truth, we have to find the truth in everything as it is, not by denying what it is. So, for example, following that philosophy, eventually we'll stop being Jews. We'll just become human or something more than human, whatever. But the designation of Jew will disappear. Just like male-female disappears. we're going to end up with nothing. So if there is truth to the world, there is truth to the universal, eternal principles of the world, and to deny it might lead to total meaninglessness.
I don't think what I'm trying to say is in the direction that you're saying, that in the direction of a kind of watered down situation or graying. Not at all. I think it's more along the lines of a kind of bird's eye view, a kind of perspective that is capable of, in fact, holding. Talking about
The distinctions?
Yes, and open enough to accept things, each and every one of them, individuals, each and every one of them, as they are, for they are.
So if you're male,
Yes, absolutely.
and you're male.
Absolutely.
So I would say the same thing in a different
And
way.
if you're female, you're female, and if you're somewhere in between, you're somewhere in between, and that's
Right.
okay too.
If that's comfortable, yeah. So what we're really we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
From a bird's eye view, truth is everywhere. There is truth to your being male, there's truth to your being female, and there's truth to your being capable of both in roles, in functions. Yes, it's all true. I think we've neglected, we think we've been too particular. We haven't. We've neglected the truth of being male and the truth of being female. We've all been focused on what both could do if given a chance, which is neither male nor female. So, can a woman be a president? Of course she can be a president. What does that have to do with being a woman? And why are men presidents? That has nothing to do with... You're not more of a man if you're a president, which we have discovered painfully. Doesn't make you more of a man. It just makes you the president. So if you're a woman president, so you're a president. We're not really appreciating, we don't even have a definition anymore. What really is a real man? And what is a real woman? We don't know.
I think we get stuck on the, at least I do. I get put off by the label man, woman, and these or that, the other characteristics. I think I'd rather work with principles. Why? Because I understand that those principles can fall within anybody, irrespective of your label, man, woman.
But is it a label or is it a truth? Are you not really female? In the 60s, people were saying biology is not destiny.
Yeah, well, that's what I was, that's what comes to mind. When you say male and female, of the essence, I think someone has the seed, someone has the egg, and so...
Someone is a nurturer, someone
right.
is a provider.
Right. And so you're kind of locked in to your biology, which I guess there's some truth in that.
Yes, and it is your destiny.
You don't have to have children,
No,
I mean,
But-
I know
but a
that's
woman is a
God's-
woman.
God's commandment.
for the man.
Oh, man, that's right, yes.
But-
I think I read that.
But even if you don't have children, you're not less of a woman, not less of a man. So you see, that's why we're not really getting to the core of what this means. And so it becomes a burden.
That's where I think the English language does us harm. That's why I say
Language.
That's why I say that using he, she doesn't work for me. This doesn't work. Because it brings up so many other things from other people who listen to this stuff and they go, what's he talking about? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to a lot of people who don't have the same kind of perspective you do, and it gets lost.
Yes.
So that I find that using, something like Dorcas does, or the idea of a force makes more sense to me in the sense that it works without creating extra value judgments, and I think that's the key for me, on top of what you're trying to say.
Okay, so value judgments are totally inappropriate.
I know, but you can't do it when you don't use the right language.
So if I say I'm a Jew, does that make people uncomfortable? Why can't you just be a human being? So in the future, will Jews disappear?
I don't know, hard to say.
Hmm?
Hard to say. From my point of view.
We are going to do everything possible that not happen, right?
I know.
Right? And I think men and women are the same. We've got to get to the true benefit and value of being male, not a judgment call. Just like, so you think Jews are better than everybody else? It's not a value issue. I am Jewish. I like being Jewish. I want to be more Jewish. I want to be more of a man. I should be. My wife keeps telling me.
All right.
So,
I think we
the-
killed
the-
this topic.
yeah, the point of it is this. In every subject, and this is what the ultimate truth about God, you can say, God has been a problem. All this talk about God, all it's brought is war and separation, and that's because we don't really know what God is, not because God is a problem. So if you go deeper, what's going to happen is God will become more universal, not less. If you go deeper, the truth becomes more valid, more relevant, more real, not less. If it starts to become less, go look somewhere else. Then that's not the truth. So the truth will never fade as you get closer to it. It'll only become better and stronger. And that's in everything. So that's why being into that ultimate truth about God needing, well, then everything is now included. If we God needs his world. Well, why does he need oceans? Why does he need clean air? All of a sudden, everything becomes relevant because everything is his creation. Now, eating takes on a whole new meaning. God created me to eat, so I'll eat. He wants me to eat kosher, I'll eat kosher. He wants me to not eat on Yom Kippur. Okay, on Yom Kippur I don't eat. It's his project. Eating is not my project. It's his. So all of a sudden, everything becomes infused with a divine purpose. There are no mistakes in nature, in creation. So we have a whole new respect for the universe. We have a whole new respect for human beings. We have a whole new respect for God. He's not some angry guy sitting in heaven throwing lightning bolts or smiting people.
But to be part of this community, and even part of the Jewish community, you would have to accept that the way to serve God would be through the 613 commandments, through the Torah.
If you're Jewish.
Right.
That's the Jewish way.
That's the Jewish way.
It's not the only way.
I got it. All right.
Do the 1613 commandments apply to the other forms of Judaism?
Sure. It applies to Jews. Not too many people can keep 613 commandments. It's even hard to remember them. But you try. Since you're here to serve, you keep trying. It's not a contest. And you're not trying to attain some title or some level. You're trying to be of service. It's a much lighter way of thinking. And that's why the word orthodox is a little too heavy. In fact, reform is also too heavy. Don't be reformed, don't be orthodox, and don't be conservative. Try.
Reconstruction.
Don't be don't give yourself a title.
No label, huh?
No labels. And that's why if yesterday you didn't do a mitzvah, so do it today. No, I'm reformed. What? It's an opportunity to serve God daily. If you have the opportunity, do it. What will that make you? Nothing. You'll still be Jewish. So it really is liberating. And now you'll go up and down the street and you'll see it in action. Actually being lived. That was a really...
That was heavy.
Oh yeah, that was very good. Very good.